So today we're graphing in standard form. We practiced how to find the vertex, so that today would be a little bit faster. So today we're actually going to graph it in standard form. Okay, so anytime we're going to graph, whether it's vertex form or standard form, I want you to put number 1, we need to identify or find the vertex. So it doesn't matter, standard form or vertex form, we've got to know the vertex. It's easier to find the vertex in vertex form, right? There's no work involved, but regardless, we've got to find the vertex. So if you have it or you remember it, I want someone to tell me how we found the vertex of standard form. I gave you something. I want y'all to find it because you'll remember it better if you look at it.
We found.
Okay, there's the first part. To find H, y'all remember this formula? We use negative B over 2A. That's okay, we'll review it. Negative B over 2A. So before we plug in the formula, we've got to decide what is A, what is B, what is C. Do y'all remember that?
Yeah.
A was always with what?
X.
Almost X squared. So I'm going to come say, okay, A is negative 1, right? You can't see that one, but there's a negative, so we've got A is negative 1. 4, and C, negative 5. Okay, so I'm going to do this first one for you, and then the second one on the page, I'm going to let y'all try it. Okay, practice. I promise. Everyone in the last class seemed to do pretty well with this. Okay, so I'm going to plug in negative 4 over 2 times negative 1.
Why is it negative 4? Because B is 4.
Yeah, because B is 4. So it's opposite of B is another way to say it. Opposite of B, because there's a negative in the formula. Okay, so if you don't like to say negative B, you can say opposite of B. So we've got negative 4 over 2 times negative 1. So that's negative 4 divided by negative 2, which is a 2. We have half of the vertex. Y'all remember how we then find the second half of the vertex? We just plug it in. So to find K, plug it in for all the X values, right, of the given function. So I'm going to say, okay, we have negative 2 squared plus 4 times 2 minus 5. And I think we talked about the difference when you plug in a negative number, you put the negative in parentheses, right? But when there's a negative on the outside, you're going to leave that negative on the outside. So we have 2 times 2, which is 4, he knows, times a negative, so we've got negative 4. And then we have 4 times 2, which is 8, minus 5. So and again, if you're not good with positive and negative numbers, y'all, I encourage you to put this in your calculator. Negative 4 plus 8 minus 5 is going to give us negative 1. Okay, so we now have the vertex. It's the point 2, negative 1. So I want y'all to plot that point on your graph. Okay, plot the point 2, negative 1 on your X and your Y axis. Okay. Sorry. If you want to make your own, you can make your own graph. It is really small. I just didn't know how big the problem was going to be.
Yeah, you do that on like everything.
Make it too small?
Always.
No, not everything.
I wear glasses and I like to really see.
All right. I try. I can always zoom. So we kind of said in the warm-up, in order to graph these parabolas, we need the vertex, and we need to find one more point. So the second thing we've got to talk about how we find another point. So I'm going to write that. We need one more point. So I gave y'all something on Wednesday. It's going to be a really fast way to find another point. It can be any point. So at the end of the day, you can pick any number other than 2, right, because 2 is in my vertex, and plug it in and get a second point, right? Any number. Now, we probably don't want to pick 100, but you could. And you can pick any number. But there's a shortcut to this, because I told y'all there's one point we can find without doing any work. Anyone remember it?
Zero.
Yeah, what do we call that? The
Vertex.
And we found the vertex No, y'all look. Someone look. I gave y'all. No, almost. No. No, the vertex is like the 0, point. I said to find, it's in the standard form part. There's one point we can find really fast. Oh, I heard it. The y-intercept. What did we say? If we want to find the y-intercept, don't we cover up all the x's? And if all the x's go away, we're only left with c. So the y-intercept is always the point 0, c. So unless, oh yeah, go ahead. So what is it? 0?
-5.
-5. So without doing any work, have we found a second point? Yes, that's great. So we're now going to plot that second point, 0, -5. To them, it's a line. So we said all parabolas, just like all absolute values, have what property?
Reflection.
Yeah, yes, reflection. I'm going to change the word. Don't they have symmetry? They're the same on both sides?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how we're going to finish this. 3, we're going to use this symmetry to, and I'm going to say this, but I don't know if it's like good math terms, to mirror the point that we know on the other side. Okay, we're going to use symmetry to mirror this point on the other side. So you don't have to do this, but I'm going to draw a line that goes through the vertex just to remind you that that's my line of symmetry. Now you don't have to. If that like bothers you, right, to draw a line through it, the line doesn't really exist. It's just a visual cue for me. Say it again? Yes. Is that okay? Okay, so I want y'all to count. Start at the vertex. How did we get from the vertex to that purple point? We went over 2 and we went down 5.
4.
To -5. I think it's a total of 4 spaces, but y'all see I went down to -5. So now we're going to go over to the other direction, down to -5. Now does it look like a U? Yes. So now we just have to connect them. Okay, we feel better, or we're still like struggling?
I just have trouble setting it up at first.
Okay, but we'll keep working on it. Like, we're not done with this. So let's see if we can add a few things to this to remind you of some things. Oh, you know it's coming. Because last year, I did not do a good enough job talking about domain and range, so I'm trying to be better. Because I think some of the pre-cal students over there are struggling with that, and I think part of it's because I didn't do a good enough job talking about it. So what is domain? All real numbers. And these circles are really fun to write in. If I'm being honest, aren't they fun to write in? Anyone know? I like writing in them, so I like to have stuff to say. What is the range?
0.
No? So we know it's y. So y'all tell me, what is the y value that this graph starts on?
2.
2 is the x value. -1. You're always going to use k. So it's always y and k. So the big decision, are we graphing below or above the vertex?
Below.
Below. So but we're going to use what, less than or greater than? Less than. Okay, so we've got domain and range. Last little thing.
Is it always going to be a less than or equal to?
If it goes down. If it goes up, then we're graphing greater than the point. But we'll do one of those today. Okay. Okay, last little thing they might ask you. Okay, and don't answer till you look at it. I want you to point to the vertex. Is that the highest or the lowest point? Highest, so we have a maximum. And we'll talk about that too. You don't have to. I need to come up with another shape.
I finally figured out how.
And then the last thing, A, is a negative. The last thing I want you to check in standard form, because it's hard to confirm that your vertex is correct, right? Because it's like a little bit of algebra. I do want y'all to notice that A is negative. And when A is negative, should it open up or down? Down. So I want y'all to draw it open down. the parabola that we graphed open down? So that's kind of like a confirmation. Okay, if my parabola opened up for some reason, what does that tell me?
Wrong.
Something went wrong, right? I need to go check. Either my vertex is wrong or my y-intercept was wrong. So just double check your A and make sure it makes sense. Okay, so I want to leave this one up here. I want you and your partner to now try the second one. If you want to do it in pencil, just to make sure in case you mess up. But if you find the vertex, I'll tell you right or wrong before you go on and finish the whole thing. So try to do the second one. Yes.
Like whenever we have the test, oh, no, I already had that, yeah. I was confused. Sorry. And then you do -1.
Okay, y'all check A. If you got A,
-1 times
make
negative.
sure you got it right, and then you can keep going.
That's what square root is.
Yeah, this is good. See? I knew you could do it.
So, just like this one right here. My eyes smell taste bad.
All right, so to find K, we're going to plug in -1. -1 squared is going to give us a +1. -2 plus 3. Agree, disagree? Okay, 1 minus 2 plus 3 is going to give us 2. So my vertex, -1, 2. Then we plot. Let me get my little color. Okay, then we find the intercept. So I need the point 0C, which is 0,3. Okay, and just to kind of reiterate, because maybe I wasn't clear, but the C that I get comes from this right here. So I didn't point to it last time, but this C is what we use. So we get 0,3. Now, for those of you who it helps, I want you to visually draw a line through the vertex. Right, so that way you don't forget which one was your vertex. This time, from the vertex to the point, we went over 1. Up 1. I wrote it in the wrong place.
Over 1.
It should be up here. So we went over 1, up 1. I'll fix it. So on the other side, we're going to go over 1, up 1. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to go over 1, up 1. Okay, once I do that, I can connect them. Okay, now I heard some really good conversations about this, because I heard some people saying, well, the last one went down, so they were like, some of y'all were panicking and feeling like something went wrong. So I want us to go put our little note off to the side. This time A is what?
Positive.
This time it was positive, so what do we expect?
It opens up.
It opens up. That's good, right? You see how the first one, A was a negative, so it did open down? But that confirms. The other thing, do we have a max or a min? A minimum. And it's always at K, so at
This form
2.
is much easier to do.
The other one, I promise you'll get it. I promise you'll get it.
Why is it 2?
It's always K. It's always the Y value. It's always the height.
Oh,
So it's always the height, how high it is. That's the highest or the lowest it can go. Okay, what is the domain?
all real numbers.
All real numbers. I just keep asking that because I know y'all can get it right, and we like that question, hopefully. So the last piece that we've got to talk about is the range. So we're always going to put Y, and we're always going to put K, which is 2. Okay, this time, are we graphing higher or lower than the vertex? Higher, so we're going to use greater than or equal to. Okay, do we see the difference between those? Y'all make this 2x squared. It was a typo. I wasn't trying to do some like voodoo magic. It was a typo. Okay. No, it was a typo. It happened. No, I write these. Okay, but I sometimes just leave things off.
They kept us exposed, you didn't.
No, the only thing I use off the internet are the animals. Yeah. All right. So I want y'all to start with what we always do. Tell me A, B, and C. Okay, A is 2. B is -5. C is 12. All right, we're going to write in vertex form. remind you, if we want to write in vertex form, we need three things. We need A, H, and K. Of those three things, what do we already have before I start? We have A. How do we find H?
Minus -2.
Okay, H equals negative B over 2A. So it's no different. This last question we're not going to graph. We're going to answer all the same questions. We're going to talk about how we know what's happening without actually taking the time to graph it. So we're going to use negative B over 2A. I also want you to know sometimes you might get decimal, and it's okay. So I have negative 5 over 2 times 2. Okay, the double negative is going to turn into a positive. So we have positive 5 over 4, which is 1.25. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yes, because I'm not asking you to graph it. Is that ridiculous if I was asking you to graph it?
Yeah.
Yes, because you can't really graph that, right? But all I'm asking you is to tell me all this stuff. So here we go. Okay, we have H. How do we find K? We're going to plug it back in. This is what I want y'all to practice. I want to make sure y'all can get these answers in your calculator because you will sometimes get decimals. So we have 2 parentheses, right? 1.25 minus 5 times 1.25 plus 12. So I think we talked about this. Depending on your calculator, some of y'all can just type this in all the way through, hit enter, and you should get 8.88. But some of y'all have to do it step by step, okay, depending on your calculator. So try it. If it doesn't work, then we'll go through step by step. This is the part where people will mess up. What comes first, multiplication or exponent? Exponent. So you've got to square the 1.25 and then multiply it by 2. Questions?
So you put in what H is for X?
Yes, and that's going to give us K, or the Y value. Okay, so this first piece, last class had to correct me, so y'all tell me if y'all are getting what they're getting. 3.13. You just did it all at one time. Did you get 8.88, if anyone did it? Okay. Try it again. 12. So if you have to do it this way, it should be 3.13, if I round, minus 2.25.
What? That's a 2?
Oh, sorry, 6. Sorry, 6.25 plus 12. If you do it all at one time and you round, 8.88 is what they said. Okay, 8.88. Okay, so I had typed something wrong the first time I did it, so I had to fix it. Okay, 8.88. All right, so I'm going to read the question now. Maybe that would have helped. We're going to write this in vertex form. So over here in the circle, I'm going to remind you vertex form. A times x minus h squared, and then plus k. Okay, that's my vertex form. Circle all the things that we have to plug in. So we've got to plug in A, H, and K. So I'm going to go find all of those things in our work. So here is A, right? We already found H. And we found K. Y'all agree with that? So I'm going to rewrite the blue formula, but instead of A, what are we going to replace A with? 2. So we have y equals 2. Instead of H, we're going to plug in minus 1.25 squared. And instead of K, we can plug in 8.88. Okay, there's the first piece. We're now going to answer all the questions about this without graphing it. So I'm going to give you a chance real quick, because I think I talked sometimes too fast. Okay, but we're going to now use that vertex form formula to answer anything that they could possibly ask. Now, I'm not going to ask you this necessarily every question, but you'll be asked different pieces, so let's go ahead and address them all. Okay, the first thing it asks is for the axis of symmetry. So I know it's always going to be x equals. Y'all remember the formula for axis symmetry? It's always x equals the x value or h. What is h? 1.25. So there we go. Axis of symmetry, x equals 1.25. Got that. Second thing it asks for, does this have a min or max? And I'm going to kind of go back. Is A positive or negative? Okay, so I'm going to write that. A is positive, so we know it's got to open up. That might help us visualize. Up, do we have a max or a min? A min, and it's always at K. What is K? 8.88. Again, did I need to graph this to be able to answer that? No, as long as you know the basic shape right and what's happening. Okay, next thing it asks for domain. All real numbers. Okay, then it asks for the range.
Y is greater than or equal to 2?
Okay, so we're always going to use K, so I'm going to put Y and K. It's greater than, but why does Chris say it's greater than or equal to?
Positive.
Because it opens up, right? A is positive. So A is positive, greater than or equal to. Yeah, it's always K. If you go back to your notes in vertex form, we wrote that on there. The range always has to do with K. Always. Okay, min-max value K, range K. Okay, max of symmetry goes with H. The last thing, let's put in words. The 2, is it going to stretch or compress? Stretch because it's not positive, but because it's a full number, bigger than 1. So we're going to add 3 more words. Stretch. Minus on the inside is going to move this to the right. Different pieces, but we're going to practice. Just relax. And the plus on the outside is going to move this up.
That's a lot of work.
If you can handle this and kind of follow, you can do anything. Because I'm not going to give you like 20 questions on the test where you have to find every single one of these pieces every single time, right? But if you can do this, you can do anything I could possibly throw at you.